This whole quarter is about conflict resolution, right? It's all about conflict resolution. So how does this framework prevent conflict? And here's how it can really help you on your team prevent conflict. It's going to challenge you to take the time to understand what is actually happening. We're not going to make decisions based on one side of the story. We're not going to make decisions based on limited information. We're going to take the time to really actively listen and understand what is happening and understand it from multiple people's perspective as well, right? We never want to make a decision based off one person's side of the story. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, and there might be different people that play different roles depending on how big your organization is, but making sure we're understanding all sides of the story before we get to that evaluate piece, right? Before we really evaluate what's happening, before we make assumptions on who did what. We might see somebody in a certain lens, and so we assume there's no way they could have been part of the problem. And we might see this other person as like always ruffling feathers and rubbing people the wrong way. So we might automatically assume that they are, causing conflict. But that's where we need to check our biases and really take the time to understand what's happening, assuming the best intentions of everybody involved, doing our due diligence and asking questions, listening, seeing people deeply, understanding why people do the things that they do. Just giving like a checklist right now to bullet points of things we can be doing in this situation. And that will actually really help us in making informed decisions where everybody feels valued and heard before we decide what the next steps are. If we need to hold somebody accountable, if there are impacts on the team that we need to address, if it's a coaching conversation, whatever it might be, taking these steps will help us in avoiding conflict, making sure that people feel valued and heard and respected, even when we don't agree with what they're saying. And I think that's the critical piece, is you should never as a leader feel like you have to always give in to what people are saying or say yes to everybody's idea. That's not the point. The point is we're making sure everybody feels heard and we give everybody an opportunity to shine and to speak their mind, because everybody's voice should be valued in your organization. And by following this framework, you'll be much more effective at making sure everybody's voice is heard and everybody is valued in your organization, which is going to help you stand out as a great leader. If you got value from this episode, send it to a friend. We love seeing the 5-star reviews coming in. The podcast is growing, which means you're sharing it. We really appreciate that. If there's a topic that you want me to talk about, jacob@workweek.com. That is my email address. I would love to hear what topics you want on this podcast, what you want in the newsletter, because this is entirely created because I believe managers don't get enough development. Most managers get put into a role, they have to figure it out on their own, and it just makes their life stressful. It makes the life of everybody on their team stressful because they aren't given the tools, the skills, the support needed to be effective. Like, leadership is a big deal. And that's why I'm here, because I believe that and I believe in people's potential. So shoot me a line, jacob@workweek.com. I would love to hear from you. What do you want me here to talk about next? I appreciate you.